So it is Thursday, 23rd of September, and today we are actually having a slightly better market than what we saw yesterday. Yesterday, actually, the markets did crash quite a bit. Unfortunately, we didn't really go to that support level that I was waiting for Bitcoin, which would have indicated the end of this correction. So the correction is not completely over yet, even though today we are recovering. We see that a lot of the coins are in the green, and not by a little, but I mean, Solana is up 10%, Avalanche is up 20%, Terra Luna 23%. So definitely we're seeing some good recovery already, but we're gonna see where this is leading us, because we still don't have an indication that we have completely come out of this correction. And today I asked a friend of mine, a trader, Dirk Hartig. He is a trader for more than 20 years. He's gonna join me so that we can discuss the current state of the market and some other general topics about trading and everything. I mean, Dirk has been trading for more than 20 years, including for institutional investors such as banks and family offices. In the last 2.5 years, he's actually trading for himself, and he started trading cryptocurrencies a few years ago. So definitely this is a guy with a lot of experience that can help us, you know, understand some of the things, and we'll have a slightly different approach to his technical analysis than myself. This is why it's actually good to have this kind of different opinions and, you know, just people with different experience. And also he's one of the traders for Prime XBT, which is an exchange that I already featured here on this channel many times before. You know, they're one of the sponsors of this channel as well. I talked also about their co-vesting, which is the copy trading feature that they have for those of you who are not very experienced and want to actually do some of those kind of passive trading type of thing. So I invited Dirk to have a general chat, but also to look at some of the charts and discuss Bitcoin and some other cryptocurrencies.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me today. And yeah, let me maybe jump right into that. I think we've picked really a special week for this interview, in my opinion, because there's a lot of so-called FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt again in the market when it comes to cryptocurrencies. And we have the situation at the moment with, first of all, Evergrande, you know, the Chinese real estate developer who has $300 billion in liabilities. Not too sure if they are able to ever pay this back. I mean, they are supposed to pay interest rate on one of the bonds today, but that's onshore, so it's paid in Chinese yuan. We're not so sure about the US dollar payments there. So that's a bit lingering in the market, and we saw the effects that had on the market beginning of the week with the S&P or the stock markets in general, really, I don't want to say crashing, but taking a hard turn to the south. And for me, the important lesson here as a cryptocurrency trader to take again is that we saw again when the stock markets go south, how tight the correlation between stock markets and cryptocurrency still is. So when we're in a sentiment of extreme fear, which we are at the moment, cryptocurrencies usually will do what the stock market does. And you know, this despite everything that is going to happen in the future in the next month with cryptocurrencies, that is, I think, important as a trader always to keep in the back of your head. I was quite relieved, yes.
Yeah. It happened last year as well. I mean, as we entered into the pandemic mode, and there was extreme fear, it literally all of the markets collapsed at the same time, and Bitcoin was correlated with the S&P 500 for a long time after that. Actually, it was months.
And that shows like that Bitcoin, at least in the eyes of an institutional investor, is still a risk-on asset. Yeah, when you're looking for risk, you buy Bitcoin, you buy stocks, and so on and so forth. If you don't want risk, you go into gold, precious metals, you buy the US dollar, and so on and so forth. And yesterday I was quite relieved. So I was a bit anxiously looking at the speech of Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Fed in the United States, because there was a bit in the room that the Fed would start tapering, so stop the buyback programs, or at least lower the amount of buybacks they are doing monthly for bonds in America at the moment. So withdraw a bit of liquidity from the market, which would have been like adding oil to the fire really at that moment. So would for sure have resulted in further decline in stocks and maybe Bitcoin really going into the mid 30s again. But luckily they postponed this again. So they gave the liquidity addicted stock market its drug again. And so the outlook now for the next month is a little bit different, of course. Then.
Are you still anticipating Bitcoin to actually fall below the 40K mark, perhaps 38K? Because that's one of the lowest support levels that we did not actually retest. I mean, it looks like we are already recovering today, but you never know with Bitcoin.
You never know, and it's so exciting times. I mean, we can see Bitcoin slumping to the downside very fast, but we can also see it on the upside recovering very fast. I mean, we have moves like of 30, 40, 50%, sometimes within a week. Sometimes within 2 weeks or doubling within a month. This is not unheard of. And this happens usually several times a year, especially in the bull market. And so, yeah, with Bitcoin, it's always, you have to be prepared for everything as a trader.
Absolutely. So in terms of advice, for instance, people who are just starting, I have a lot of viewers that are actually quite new to trading. You know, they're mainly people who are kind of a long-term investors. But of course, I do urge people to take advantage of these market swings, not only with Bitcoin, especially with altcoins, in fact, because altcoins for me are something that I don't really like to be looking at altcoins as a long-term hold. For me, it's great to make short-term profits with altcoins, but during a bear market, they lose so much of their value, way more than Bitcoin. That's why it's not really a great idea. That's one of the advice. I mean, we don't really give financial or investment advice, but purely from personal experience, what are the things that we have encountered? What are the mistakes that we've made in the past? One of my mistakes was to treat altcoins as a long-term investment. And I saw, you know, during the last bear market, some of my altcoins greatly, you know, lose value and never really return. So that's one of the things that I always say to people: don't treat altcoins as a 5 or 10 year investment, because you don't really know if these projects will even exist in 5 or 10 years. Of course, some projects have already proven themselves and stuff, but many haven't.
Yeah, there's so much truth really in what you said just now. I really couldn't agree more. So when it comes to long-term investment, I totally agree. Better stick to like the top cryptocurrencies out there, Bitcoin and Ethereum, because you have to keep in the back of your head just there's a network effect, economically speaking, going on there. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, in terms of hashing power, in terms of network, they are light years ahead of all the other altcoin projects out there. That doesn't mean, of course, where all the altcoin projects are bad. And we've seen something like Cardano, for example, this year or within the last year, especially, that it can be a very, very good investment. But yeah, and I totally agree with you. If we are in a bull market, which I assume we still are at the moment, so let's walk with this hypothesis for the moment, and altcoins can be an extremely good investment, because the risk you are taking in comparison to the potential short-term upside is well worth it. You know, if you have to risk 1,000, but your potential upside is maybe 10 or 20,000, you know, this is always a gamble probably a professional trader out there would do. But don't put all your money into altcoins. So in the long term, have like something like 75% invested in Bitcoin and Ethereum, a mixture of those both. I personally prefer Bitcoin, but I totally understand people that prefer Ethereum. And maybe use like 10% or 15% to put into altcoins, short term, that is, like you so rightfully said just now, and another 10% maybe you use for trading. And the important lesson really I can give to everybody out there who's starting, especially with this type of short-term investing, so with trading, is, you know, you don't get emotionally attached to position. That is the number one mistake new traders make. Nobody likes to be wrong. Obviously, it's within our human nature that we don't like to be wrong, but it's a very, very bad investment advice for yourself if you attach yourself emotionally to a position. If you still believe, despite everything proving you wrong in terms of losses making, oh, it's going to recover. I'm going to put in more money because I want to bring my average buy price, for example, down. Don't do that. This is like the major difference between an institutional, a professional trader, and a beginner trader. A professional trader always has a game plan. When do I enter the market, and why do I enter the market? And when am I proven wrong? When do I take my losses? Because once you have lost, for example, 50% in something, you need to have a performance of 100% to just regain the losses. And that is not so easy to do under normal market conditions, at least.
Exactly.
Second mistake, just a short one maybe here, is over leveraging. Just because there are platforms, and Prime XBT is one of those platforms, at least, for example, for Bitcoin, that offers a leverage of 1 to 100, doesn't mean you need to use that leverage all the time. Because if you use it, the position just needs to move 1% against you. And this can happen within seconds in cryptocurrency to knock you out of your position. So be a little bit careful with the leveraging and have a game plan. And then, honestly speaking, you have already gone 70% of the way of becoming successful.
Absolutely. Now, while we're still on the topic of altcoins, any specific projects that you want to point out in terms of good ones that you're personally investing? Of course, we're not just giving advice to people what they should do, but like just discussing what we are doing.
Absolutely. Right. Personally, I am investing in Cardano because I think it addresses some of the problems we are especially right now seeing in Ethereum. And that being the high gas prices, so the transaction prices. Cardano, with the, I think, next update, will be able to do something 1 million transactions per second, which is unheard of in the cryptocurrency scene up to now.
Yes,
so
we are yet to see that kind of a high performance. I mean, Solana is so far one of the fastest, and it's 50,000, isn't it?
Which is already really insane. I mean, if you compare that to Bitcoin and Ethereum at the moment. But of course, you always have to, the risk there on that side is also that these are still rather small projects and they are still centralized projects. So, and we saw that in Solana, they can decide to lock down or shut down the blockchain. And normally, when you invest in cryptocurrencies in long term, this is something you don't want to see, that there's somebody that can just pull a switch and turn everything off. So a bit vary, but nonetheless, from a technology standpoint, very, very interesting projects. I like everything that goes also a little bit in this direction of DeFi, into this direction of cross-chain transactions. So I'm looking at Polkadot, for example, which I think is a great project. But yeah, like we said before, personally, it's like low amounts I in comparison to Bitcoin and Ethereum I put into those projects. Because, I mean, if we would have had this discussion like 4 years ago, we probably would have talked about something like EOS, NEM, Dash, and look where those projects are today. You would have lost money.
I mean, I had all of them in my portfolio, and I was.
Me too.
I was guilty of what you just mentioned earlier about getting emotionally attached. I mean, Dash was one of the first cryptos that I got after Ethereum. I think Ethereum was my first altcoin, and after that, I got into Dash, and for quite some time, it was giving me very good profits and everything. So of course, I got emotionally attached at the time. And as a privacy coin, I think 2017, when privacy coins were really a big talk, like, we were all looking at different privacy coin projects and stuff like that. So for a moment, we thought that Dash is really going places, and it was. I mean, it was in the top. I think it was in the top 6, if not even in the top 5 by market cap. And then slowly but surely it kind of faded away. It's still going, it's still doing things, but not to the level that we were expecting. And all of a sudden today nobody's talking about Dash. Besides, people who are involved with it and stuff like that. Stratis was another one. If you remember, Stratis went in the top 6 or top 7 as well. Yeah. And it was, again, 2016, 17, it was really, promising project. We thought that it will be one of the giants out there. And again, I mean, last year it had a bit of a run for a couple of months, but it's not at the level that it used to be. And Neo was the Chinese Ethereum killer, and all of this. So yeah, and EOS, of course. I mean, I invested early in EOS, so again, it gave me very good profits. But EOS did not really fulfill its goals and things.
Yeah. Likewise, I was heavily invested in Monero. Talking about privacy coins, I was an ICO buyer of Electronium back then, so the British Bitcoin killer, they called it back then. And for the money I put in there at that time, I could also have bought like 40 or 50 Bitcoin. So I should have done. But it's normal, dear viewers. This is like the type of lesson you go through. You become a more seasoned investor with the market development. And as long as you don't repeat the same mistakes all over again and put all of your money into one project, everything is fine.
As we are talking about, is any strategies in particular that you would like to share with our viewers that have been winning strategies for you?
Okay, so this is like actually the main chart when it comes to Bitcoin that I like to work with midterm. So I'm not talking now about long-term investments. Still, probably the best strategy for the majority of your holdings when it comes to Bitcoin and Ethereum is hodling. Buy it and hold onto it as long as possible. A strategy that at one point in the past has always become profitable. Very hard in the past 12 years to lose money with this. And since we are all so much into cryptocurrencies, I think this is going to continue to be a profitable strategy. But, cryptocurrencies move in cycles. And in my opinion, as a trader, it's always with portions of your money important to be prepared to also profit from a bear cycle. And what I do usually is in my midterm trades, so these are trades I like to hold on for a couple of weeks to maybe 3-4 months maximum, is I like to use on-chain data. On-chain data is data sucked off really the Bitcoin blockchain, where you can see such things as where are larger entities, or where have they purchased coins, where have they stopped purchasing coins, where are coins that entities purchased that they have not spent, so not sold again. And I like to put this data into support and resistance zones always. So at the moment, you see we are here round about at 43,500 US dollars, which is I call it a solid support zone. So you see a little bit of a balance there between people that bought coins there, people that bought coins and sold them again. Down here in this area between 31 and 40,000 US dollars, this is what I call my strong support zone at the moment, because on the way up, let me use my brushing tool here, on the way up here, when we went from 30,000 all the way up first to 40, later to 50, above 50,000, you saw that the majority of those coins down here purchased by long-term holders. So I'm talking about entities that like to hold coins for more than 1 year, not short-term traders. They are still holding on to those coins. So they didn't sell up here. They are still holding on to them. This usually is a good sign that if the markets go down there, they are not going to sell again. On the contrary, they are more likely to repurchase and purchase more. And I think we saw this very well with this drop. We briefly touched this area here below 40,000 and then bounced off it. So there seemed to be, entities, and we're talking about entities with more than 1,000 Bitcoins here that are purchasing coins here. It will get interesting when we are going to move again into this area here between 47 and around about 52,000, 53,000. So the area where this surprisingly large drop from leverage positions downwards surprised us a bit. And then we have the strong resistance zone here, still between 53,000 and around about 64,000 US dollars. Where all those coins were bought between March and May, the all-time high, people still holding on to this. And once we enter this area, it's very likely that we see at least some selling activities, because some investors out there might be happy, you know, that they can get out for break even again. And it can go very fast up there. And what is interesting at the moment, I think, is that we have a lot of quantitative models out there that are pointing at the fact that we should see like a nice October, November, and December with new all-time highs. So I'm thinking there, for example, of the stock to flow model from Plan B that says fair price of Bitcoin until December should be somewhere around 100,000 US dollars. So it's an exciting time. With this type of analysis, you can, and this is publicly available, so I'm not sucking this out of my fingers somewhere. Right. There's a report from Glassnode, which is an on-chain analytics company. It comes out once a week, where you can see all of this data, you can visualize it for yourself, and then you really have already a great tool to, you know, come up with a kind of a midterm game plan, when to invest and when to stay out of the markets. Yeah. So this is investing like for a couple of weeks, maybe for a couple of months. As I said, like long term, it doesn't really matter where you bought.
Absolutely, I agree with that. And I'm also sharing a lot of these charts. The stock to flow chart we were looking at probably 2 weeks ago. And because I was also trying to point out to the fact that we will have a new all-time high by the end of the year. This is also my conviction. I feel that October most likely will again rise to the 60s, go towards this, maybe not immediately go straight for the previous all-time high, but at least hover around that, maybe even consolidate around that price range, because we will most likely get rejected around 60K. There will be a lot of people looking to get, as you said, either get out to break even, or maybe even just lock in profits if they have already purchased Bitcoin earlier.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't sell it when it was 60 or 63K. And then as it dropped, they felt like, oh, I don't want to sell now because I want to get the bigger profit. Especially, you know, people who are not traders, people who are just investors, they tend to think like that. They tend to actually just look, and I'm talking about the ones that are not very experienced. They tend to look at trying to get the top, right? So as they missed the top, there will be a lot of people eager to actually sell at around 60K, because now in their head, this is the top and this is a good price for Bitcoin. Maybe they bought it at 20K, maybe they even bought it at 15K, who knows? I'm not talking about, you know, people who are short some in the last few months, but even those who actually bought it back in May, just prior to the all-time high and prior to the big correction, maybe some of them are too scared now. They're not really liking the fact that it's been taking quite some time for Bitcoin to return to this price level, so they've probably lost faith. And I even have a few friends that were asking me about Bitcoin and that entered this market around that time. So I know that there's many people like that who are possibly just not having enough patience or nerve to actually wait and you know, go through these deep corrections, see the loss of their money cut by half or something, but then really wait and see the money double or triple or more, which will happen.
Yeah, it's always a game of pain, absolutely. And what you just said, I totally agree with this, that we are going to probably see some selling action around this area of 60,000 for the reasons you stated. And I mean, look back here in December when we were nibbling at the 20,000, and it looks so insignificant now on the chart, looking back. You know, we had quite an extended sideways range actually for a couple of days, but once we broke through the 20,000, well, we very quickly went up to 40,000. So we doubled really just within a month. And this is the other side of Bitcoin. In the media, you always just read about, you know, when things are going for the worse. At least this is the way it is in Germany. The media always likes to report, Bitcoin once crashed again. Everybody's losing their money. It's going to zero, and so on and so forth. And then nobody is reporting about, well, it broke through 20,000, it's at 40,000 now. Congratulations. So yeah, always a lot of pain also in investing, and absolutely. And like my rule of thumb always is, when I have a feeling that I'm too much concentrating on short-term charts, you know, I like to use the daily chart and just zoom out a little bit to put things into perspective. Absolutely the same again 4 years ago. around this time, I think we were maybe around $4,500 in Bitcoin. Back then, if you would have told somebody, hey, 4 years down the road, it's going to be worth 45,000. If you invest now, you're going to tenfold your money. Probably nobody would have believed you.
And true, because at the time I was connecting with people who were interested in crypto and stuff. I was already running my video podcast at the time. I remember speaking to a friend of mine who had just bought Bitcoin, and I think it was around 7K actually, and she was asking me whether to sell it because it had jumped by maybe $1,000 or something, or hold on to it. And I said, well, I'm not selling until 50,000. And she said, oh, you think it's going to go that far? I'm like, yeah, it will. I mean, clearly it took a few years to get here. And 2017 was one of those years where literally in 1 year, you saw Bitcoin go from 900 to 19,000. So yeah, quite a big difference. That's not something that is typical performance, or it happens all the time. But we are in a bull market that is not too far from that bull market into 2017. So we can't be surprised if Bitcoin actually starts a fast run in late October towards November. Typically before Christmas, Bitcoin does do these kind of strong bull runs. And adds, at least a few thousand. So in this case, now that we're at 40, we can easily double that. I would not be surprised at all. I mean, my target up to the end of the year is at least 80K. We'll see if we're going to surpass this. I'm usually conservative with my targets, but I feel that it will make perfect sense to actually hit at least 80.
I agree with you, and I also think that's a conservative target. I wouldn't be surprised actually to see something around $135,000. But I want to go even further. That if we look like maybe 8 years down the road, I think we are not going to think in US dollars anymore. Probably we are going to start to either think in Satoshis or Bitcoins, because it's so much more worthwhile to have Bitcoin than US dollars, especially, if we take into consideration a solid amount of inflation that might be heading our way.
Yeah, I wish this could actually happen, but I feel it will take probably longer, because in order to get to that place, we actually need to have economies built around this currency, and Bitcoin has to become a currency. For the moment, it's really good at being a store of value, but that for day-to-day transactions, at this point, we are still far from achieving it. I mean, there are a few factors. Not only it's very volatile, which is making it difficult for retailers to actually start working with Bitcoin, because when you have expenses and everything else that you need to cover, you have to have some sort of guarantee that this is not going to drop by 40% in a week, sometimes in a day. And it still does that, right? So volatility is one of the big problems for retail investors to actually get it into mainstream adoption. Also, I spoke some time ago with Ivan on Tech. We had a chat about Bitcoin, of course, and he pointed something quite important. He said that Bitcoin is just too good of a money to be used for day-to-day transactions. Typically, people are more easy to spend currencies that are not very good, and the good currencies get to be held for longer time. This is also why the example with the US dollar being a world reserve currency for many countries, they have their reserves in dollar, because the dollar is the better money, is the sound money compared to their own economy and their own currency. So people are more happy to be spending their own currencies and hold on to the dollars if they get dollars. So in that respect, Bitcoin is better for storing rather than spending. But we do need to get to a mainstream adoption. We do need to have a lot of businesses that will accept directly Bitcoin. And I'm talking about a lot of, not just 100 or 1,000 businesses. It needs to be like a majority, so that when you start talking about Bitcoin, you stop thinking about Bitcoin in fiat value, but you need to know what you can buy with that Bitcoin so that you can stop thinking about it in fiat value. Otherwise, if you're still buying everything with fiat, inevitably you have to compare what is my one Bitcoin going to be buying me in fiat value. There is no other way, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, this is what is still happening in Germany, for example, with at least older people. Like my father, for example, still calculates in his head in Deutsche Mark.
Deutsche Mark, seriously?
We have had the euro now for what is it, like 21 years now? Yeah,
more than a decade.
Yeah, more than 2 decades now.
Has it been 2 decades? It's been 2 decades.
Yeah, it's been 2 decades already, and this is still happening.
90s,
so,
right?
Yeah, that's late 90s, early 2000s, and so this is how you see like how long progressions like this really take. But yeah, I tend to agree with Ivan on tech that when we think about Bitcoin, it's a store of value, a store of energy, probably Michael Saylor would say now. And so a protection per design, deflationary asset as a protection against a world where inflation is going to take place.
Okay, well, one last thing before we wrap this up. Tell me, whenever the next crash comes, whenever we actually see the turning of the trend from bullish into bearish, what are you going to be doing? Are you holding on to your Bitcoin and other coins? Are you selling, or what is your strategy?
I'm like I said already, I have like one stash of Bitcoin and Ethereum that I hold on to no matter what. Because also, like you stated earlier, it's very, very hard. It's, in my opinion, impossible to always predict where's the top, where's the bottom. So if you're able to catch like 85% of a trend in both directions, it's very, very good. You're like amongst the top 5 traders out there already, amongst the top 5% traders worldwide, if you're able to do that. Nonetheless, of course, I have this trading position also, which is around about 20% of my portfolio, where I will sell and potentially start to go short then if I am under the impression that we've reached the top. But you have to be very careful with this. As always, betting on a crash somewhere is a very difficult trading strategy. At least if you're not trading some sort of option, where you don't need to put so much money into to have the leverage on the downside. This is what the likes of Michael Burry do out there, but they have a cash to sit this out for a very long time if it doesn't happen immediately. So
right, yeah, no, again, I totally agree with you. I'm doing the same thing. I've already mentioned a few times here on this channel that the coins that I'm, especially altcoins, they're all going. I don't think I will be holding any altcoins during the next bear market. I do have a stash of Ethereum as well, which I think we should probably stop talking about Ethereum in terms of an altcoin. I think at this point, it's kind of deserved its spot as one of the 2 top coins. But I have a stash of Ether that I will not touch and a stash of Bitcoin that I will not touch. But everything that's currently on my exchanges accounts, this is all going to be going into stable coins and later perhaps into fiat. And of course, I will be rebuying as we start seeing the signs of another turning of the trend. But absolutely. I will wait it out patiently throughout the whole time.
And of course, we are going to tell you guys out there about this also on our channels when the moment in time has come where we are doing something like this.
Oh yeah, technical analysis, and there will be a lot of videos about, I'm selling, I'm holding, whatever. I'm generally sharing these kind of things with my viewers.
Me too.
Even talk about which coins I'm currently buying. Then when I sell them, I say that as well. So definitely. And you are doing a lot of updates on your channel as well. You're quite active. I see it's pretty much every day, isn't it?
Pretty much every day, Mondays through Fridays. I take the weekend off to spend with my family, and but every day a new video. if exciting things to talk about. And this week we had plenty of exciting stuff. I mean, let's be honest, there's always something exciting going on. That's why crypto is so addicting. And so I will be talking, I'm sharing really my views on short-term developments also. And I'm not shy also to admit if I was wrong somewhere, which is part of the game. Nobody's correct
is wrong at some point. It's impossible to be right all the time. If you can be right all the time, then you would be a billionaire by now. There will be no mistakes, right? So it's impossible. You are working exclusively with PrimeXBT. You're doing a lot of videos for them as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's correct. Yeah, I'm my main job is really I'm trading my own book, my own money. But PrimeXBT approached me a couple of months ago, said like, hey, you are successful in doing this. You want to share some of your wisdom with our clients, just to make sure they don't fall into the same traps like I had to do. I have blown several accounts before I was successful in the past, and luckily with the mediums like YouTube we have today, that is something that can be avoided for people out there. So yeah, this is what I'm trying to teach out there, and I think PrimeXBT is a very good partner looking at the trading conditions out there. So I'm very happy about this. Yeah.
We will be doing some more of these. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop in the comments, or as you approach me on social media, you can also ask me. I'm not sure when we're going to do the next video like that, but definitely we will try to do another one in the next couple of weeks where we will discuss more the current market conditions and the pressing topics of today. Well, thanks again, Dirk.
Thanks for having me, and all the best for you guys.
Well, this is everything for today's episode of Crypto Corner, everyone. Thanks for staying until the end. I hope this brings you value, and if it did, please share it with someone else who would also benefit from the information that I presented to you here. Show your support by leaving a like and a comment below. And please ignore all of the spam comments. There's loads of this. I know as my channel grows and gains more popularity, I get tons of spam. I would never share my phone publicly or invite you to WhatsApp me. So these are scammers. Don't reply to them. Also, make sure that you check out the links in the description below, where I list all of my top crypto services, exchanges, wallets, my top charting tools for market analysis, and my 2 ebooks, Learn Crypto, the ultimate beginner's guide to investing in cryptocurrencies, where I share with you all of my mistakes and everything that I've learned in my 6 years in this industry, and Crypto Jargon A to Z. This is my complete crypto dictionary with almost 1,000 terms and acronyms and trading slang that you should know. It is an Amazon bestseller, and it's now in its 3rd edition and at a super low price offer as well. If you want to be on my mailing list and receive my bi-weekly crypto newsletter, the link is also in the description below. Trade carefully and stay profitable.